Hey folks, it's Jim. Going to go over today about around 5 reasons why the EV industry is about to take a big hit and possibly a step backwards. I'm not going to include Tesla in this for a few reasons. However, Elon Musk is going to have to make some changes as well. Not with the production of his vehicles, but in another way. And we'll get into that on the video. But disclaimer, it's not economics advice, financial advice, or advice of any kind. Certainly not car shopping advice. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Always seek out proper professional advice that is right for you in all your affairs. So let's get into it. What's going on? Fires upon fires upon fires are going on with these batteries in these EV vehicles. And when they ignite, they can't be put out pretty much. Not by conventional ways, or certainly not by the technology that's taking place now. So many fire departments are just saying, well, let it burn. There is another group that's come out with a possible blanket they can throw over the vehicle to prevent it from causing more catastrophic damage throughout a neighborhood or whatever. And so this is a huge problem. We see the ship that burned up due to a runaway thermal battery. We've seen multiple incidents where this is going on. Of late, case in point in the UK, they're arguing over it now, but it looks like the potential that EV batteries cause the temperature of the fire in that airport to get so huge in the parking garage, plus the added weight of the EVs, which are much heavier than a standard vehicle, caused not only for this entire place to burn, but a complete collapse and it's a complete loss. Okay, so there's so much going on that's coming out, and it's all being talked about, nothing confirmed or denied or anything like that. However, these moments are evident. Case in point, another disabled family with a van they were told to buy by the UK government spontaneously combusted in their driveway and ruined their home in the same fire. So these things are extremely dangerous when they do go off. Hopefully it's not very often, but we see fires almost every day in China in electric vehicles, okay? And they've been trying to cover this up, I think, media-wise because of the green agenda. But the reality is everybody's seeing it, so you can't stop it. But what's more important, insurance costs are starting to go up on these EVs, and here's why. When one of these is in a minor accident or any kind of an accident, then it has to go to a body place or a repair shop. Well, now the laws, I believe in the UK, are they have to be 15 meters or 50 feet apart from any other structure. So can you see how much space each one of these vehicles that's been damaged is going to take up in a repair person's parking lot? And now they're starting to say, no, take it somewhere else. I don't want it here. Because the amount of space they're going to have in their repair yard to work on one of these things is insanity. Okay, because of the potential of a fire. And these fires don't just go out, they also can reignite 2 weeks later. Okay, so this has become a very dangerous situation for everybody involved. Okay, and now the insurance companies over in Europe are beginning to respond anyway. And I believe here in the US it's going to happen as well too. If this continues, the EV industry is headed for a total collapse. Okay, so they have to somehow stop this or come up with a solution for the fires in these vehicles and the amount of damage those fires cost once they ignite. Okay, because people are actually refusing to even allow them now in their parking lots. Okay, and what happens with future parking? Do EVs have to be so far apart, and how much space will they take up? Now they're not green anymore. They're a total disaster. That's the first problem we have with the electric vehicle industry that is looming right now. The second thing is the charging infrastructure is a disaster, both in the UK and here even in good old California, that's thrown billions and billions of dollars at all of this stuff. The charging infrastructure is a disaster. Now, we'll exclude the Tesla people because they have access to specific Tesla charging stations where others may not. But the other vehicle manufacturers who do not have the infrastructure Tesla does, it is a disaster. And now the latest craze in the UK is to cut those big copper cables off of the charging stations and selling them for scrap now. Okay, so the whole world is now going to slow its roll on the EV, or at least the US is going to, and the UK and many others are going to begin to slow their roll on this whole EV nightmare that's beginning to unfold on multiple levels. Okay, so let's go further. The charging station cable cutting was cracking me up. But more importantly, people have found they try and drive a distance and there's supposed to be charging infrastructure. And when they get there, either the charging stations aren't working or there's people there and they have to wait 3 hours to charge a vehicle that they were told would only take about 20 or 30 minutes to get their 80% or less in most cases today. Okay, and it's becoming a complete lie. All of it is a lie. It's not working. Okay, hundreds of billions of dollars have to be thrown at this, and who's going to pay for it? Me? You? The car companies? The car companies certainly aren't going to do it. I think they were probably promised a bunch of BS that the government would handle it, but now the government's realizing the costs and the cost to just maintain this charging infrastructure is going to be ridiculous. And that's what everybody's finding out. All of this is beginning to come forward. Okay, now Tesla has a good plan and model, okay, and the best software in the industry. However, Tesla can't build all the cars for the world, not at this point, okay? And so who's going to pay for all of this infrastructure that's required? And even California, I'm talking serious. If you try and go from NorCal to SoCal, good luck. You could be waiting hours to get your vehicle charged at any one place. Okay, and now they're in the UK, there's reporting fighting at charging stations because of this. Okay, and how long, or is it already happening in California and they're just covering it up? I don't know. I don't care. I will never own an EV. This is why. Okay, and they don't tell anybody this. You figure it out and start living your nightmare after you buy one. Okay. Ford and GM are losing about $20,000 per electric vehicle. That's just the numbers. Ford is reporting a $4 billion loss this year. That's reality. It is not working. Okay. And there's too much investment required to do all of this. Tesla is leading the charge. Elon Musk is doing it right, or has done it right, slowly, progressively, and adapted, improvised, and overcome, while these other companies are trying to catch up. Terrible software, terrible charging infrastructure, da-da-da-da-da. It's just not good. And so I think they're finding that. The other thing is, let's get into it. Toyota has always claimed that EVs are not the answer. Not now, because the grid itself cannot handle on this massive changeover. And most of the world, 90% of the world's population, can't afford this to plug in a car on an electric grid that's not stable in the first place. So Toyota's been saying this, so has Honda. I'm talking the world's population here. Okay? Most of these power grids cannot handle these massive increases in energy suck. Okay? Nor can most of the world's population afford one of these vehicles. So what's the point? And you're trying to remove gasoline vehicles, right? That's their goal. So if people can't afford the replacement, they're just going to continue to drive worse cars longer and create more of a problem. So it's not working. And Toyota has tried to warn them about this Toyota's been talking about this for 10 years. Honda's joined this. But let's get into some realistic numbers, okay? One EV, Toyota can produce 60 to 80 Priuses. Yep, you heard me right. For the same mining capacity. Okay, one EV, Toyota can produce 10 to 12 Prius Primes like my own, which leaves me 90% green. So that's going to be 90% more emissions taken off the road than one electric vehicle. And those are the realistic numbers when it comes to mining, production, and all of the carbon emissions included with that. That's the reality of it. And so common sense hopefully is beginning to prevail. And I see that with Ford and GM both cutting EV production. They realize they are losing their shirts on this, and it is not the way to go. And if we follow Toyota's mathematics, we see they've always been right. It is not the answer. The grid can't handle this stuff. There are too many problems in the whole system right now that need to be resolved, mainly infrastructure and what to do about these fires. While they're not as common in the US, when they do happen, they are a disaster. And that's it. A diesel fire can be put out. A gasoline fire can be put out. A lithium fire can't at this point from a road crew. It just can't be done. Okay. And they are catastrophic when they happen. And then even after a minor accident, anytime these vehicles can ignite, and that's the new nightmare. Okay. So, okay. The next thing is about the Prius Primes and things of this nature. We can build 80 times more of them, and they don't affect the grid at all. No effect on the power grid, no charging infrastructure required. They just emit less carbon, okay? And there are so many new technologies on the way that I think are going to be more cost-effective, carbon efficient with regards to construction and building, manufacturing, I should say, that I think that the EV, once again, this could be the third time that the electric vehicle finds itself in the scrapyard. I don't know, but what I'm seeing out there, all the problems beginning to compound upon themselves are showing me that the EV will probably have a sector, a portion of the solution, a piece of the pie. But the pie is huge to solve this problem they want to solve. And it's going to require multiple inputs. Hydrogen electric, it could be, you know what I mean? And car enthusiasts want hydrogen because it makes the sound. And there's a guy right now getting over 500 horsepower out of his hydrogen V8. And so F1 and NASCAR will be looking at hydrogen as a replacement fuel for their sports, things of that nature, okay? So there are multiple solutions to any problem, and Toyota's been saying this all along. Electric cars do not fit the needs of most of the world, period, end of subject. They just don't, and they're going to cause more problems in the end than they will solve with regards to carbon emissions, mining, and destruction to the earth. And finally, mathematical common sense is beginning to raise its head and speak loudly to this. And it's not just here, it's happening in Europe. I believe Germany just bulldozed a wind farm and is mining coal out of it. Now you tell me what direction we're possibly heading in the near future. And I think it's going to be a 2 to 3 year transition until we get a grasp on all the problems that this supposed green agenda has pushed upon the West. Hope you're all doing well. Hope life's treating you well. Jim out.